and helped me in the development of this thing called the Ozscope, which is actually in a book that I wrote back, almost 20 years ago. It came out. And it started when I was doing the teacher training at the for the Waldorf School at the Rudolf Steiner Center, and within the curriculum learning about fairy tales as being psychological portraits. Stories and fables and whatnot are actually expressions of the human psyche through these funny little characters. And when I was sitting there learning the curriculum for the Waldorf School, I kept thinking of the Wizard of Oz and how it was such a fantastic and complete allegory for the spiritual journey with the 7 main characters of Dorothy. Dorothy is the central character, the protagonist of the story, but then around her is the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion, and also the Wicked Witch and the Not So Wonderful Wizard, and Glinda as kind of the higher self in the story. And when I finished my training, I worked part-time with children, but I continued working with adults as well, and I saw how using this fairy tale, The Wizard of Oz, was a great way to help them to contextualize the experiences in their life, giving a framework to things going on in their outer world, which I just called Kansas, and say, oh, this is going on in your Kansas, eh? Well, this is archetypal. This fits within the storyline of the Wizard of Oz. And then bit by bit, I started to not only use it as a explanation, I asked people to go inside and bring up these characters using active imagination, this tool I just spoke of that Carl Jung pioneered. And I was flabbergasted to see how perfectly the imagery that came up from the unconscious mind paralleled what was going on in their outer life. And that's what Jung called synchronicity. Things going on outwardly have a direct correlation to what's going on inwardly and the way you're configured inwardly. So that launched me into using this tool and developing it into what I call the Ozscope, which is, as I said earlier, kind of a modern shamanistic journey into your innards, if I can put it that way. And we're going to do that tonight, just a little mini Ozscope, where you are going to get a snapshot of your shadow side, we won't call it the dark side, but we'll call it the unseen side of the moon within you, through this Ozscope journey, using the Oz characters as a way to scope out the way you're configured. And as I said, there's the 7 main characters, Dorothy as the self, and then the Scarecrow represents the thinking, right, because he was looking for his brain in the story. And you don't need to know all this ahead of time. You don't really need to know what these characters represent, but I'll just say quickly how the Scarecrow is the thinking capacity, the Tin Man is the feeling realm, and the Lion is the will part of the soul. And then this other triangle, we have the Wicked Witch, the Not So Wonderful Wizard, and Glinda, acting as kind of a spiritual triangle around which Dorothy has to orient herself in the development of her soul and self. So what we're going to do, and the Ozscope we're going to do this evening, is also explained in this book so that you could actually guide other people into their own Oz, which helps to explain why things are going on the way they are in Kansas. Like your question was like, where's this coming from in you? I smell shadow. I smell shadow out there, but it's all because of what's in your Oz. It's the way you're configured with your Tin Man, Lion, Scarecrow, Wicked Witch, Wizard, and so forth. So you're not going to be able to change the outer world. That's shadow boxing. If you're out there trying to manipulate and control the world, that'll just get you into trouble. You'll change the world when you change yourself inwardly. So what we're going to do tonight is a little Ozscope, which is going to give you a snapshot of how you are looking in terms of your characters. And as I said, this will be a mini one. So when I work with people one-to-one doing an Ozscope, as we were speaking of over the break, this can take 20 minutes, 30 minutes in that dream time state. And then afterwards we take time to look at what came out of the unconscious and correlate that to what's going on in your outer life, in your Kansas. Alright, so after those brief introductory remarks, I invite you to just relax, sit back, prepare for what will begin as a journey across the Rainbow Bridge. Just connecting with your breath to relax your body and to still your mind. Just allowing each breath to release tension. Each breath taking you a little bit more inward, moving in towards the land of Oz. And as you move inward, we're going to approach a rainbow bridge where you'll be met by a color. Let's see what's the first color at the Rainbow Bridge to greet you. Just be with that color, breathe with that color. Just bathe in whatever color is in your visual field. And as you move across the Rainbow Bridge, maybe a second color to greet you. Just relax into that color. Allow that color to bathe you. Feeling the qualities of that color working upon you. Feel that color bringing a transition as you cross this bridge. Then meeting a third color. What's the third color on the Rainbow Bridge? As you feel yourself moving across the bridge, preparing to enter your land of Oz. When you're ready, taking a step into your inner land of Oz to see what you might see. Is there an Oz character there to greet you? If you see an Oz character in this land of Oz, just look at the details. How does this character look and feel? Is there something this Oz character wants to say to you? Just take in everything you can about the land of Oz and whatever character is there. See if there's another Oz character that wants to come in to connect with the first Oz character. What's the dynamic between the Oz characters? The happy, sad, angry, energetic, tired. How do they look? How do they feel? Just taking one more moment to see what wants to come in this land of Oz. And then preparing to leave the land of Oz, bringing back what you've seen, what you've heard. Turning your attention once again to the Rainbow Bridge. Saying goodbye to the land of Oz, going to the Rainbow Bridge to be met by a color. What's the first color to greet you and meet you coming back on the Rainbow Bridge? Moving across the bridge, see if there's a second color to escort you across. Being thankful for what you've seen and heard. Being thankful as you're guided back across the Rainbow Bridge. Being thankful for a third color to greet you. Bringing you back out of Oz into Kansas. The outer realm. It's beginning to feel your body sitting on the chair or floor. Feeling your hands, feeling your feet. Preparing to come back into waking consciousness. being with your breath, to bring yourself back. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. All right, welcome back from your trip to Oz, and we'd like to get a little sampling of people's experiences.
Sure. So, yeah, it was a nice little journey.
Okay, nice and loud so people can hear.
Yes, it was a nice journey. It was first just trying to imagine the bridge, and then the first color was purple. It seems to be a color that I've been quite fond of, and it's been coming to me for the last month. So that came immediately, and then even before you said the second color, it was already ready because it was kind of like a yellowy kind of color coming in, and actually I was playing around with both of them. And then it turned into this emeraldy green one, and so I was quite happy with those colors. I don't see how they might not mesh together well, but they were nice. I was trying to see them as a flag, maybe what kind of flag they would make. Mm-hmm. And then the characters, the scarecrow came up right away, and so that was so I see the connection with the intellect, and I was kind of concerned that he's straw and that he's kind of empty, but then the message that I got is like, no, it's actually quite solid, because the straw isn't just straws. It was more like a reed, he's more made of reeds, and then inside he sort of kind of showed that he's actually quite strong and made of wrapped around this like steel kind of will, I guess. That was pretty cool. And then
so it surprised you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You were thinking it's not as strong as it is. It's wispier, and it's like, oh well, there's more there than I thought.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, totally. And the second character was the Tin Man. And then I right away saw the connection why the two of them were there, because I was reading something, or maybe I've watched some sort of influential documentary about the trying to unify what the head wants and what the heart wants, and I've been struggling with the two kind of battling it out and not unifying their energy, and then at the same time they're both weakening each other. And here it was a very compassionate kind of hug that they gave to each other. I was like, this is great. I hope this is a nice truce and kind of union of working together. And yeah, that was brilliant.
Nice. So not only did you get an image of the way things are, there was actually a shift that took place.
Yeah, also surprisingly, because I don't even have to do anything. It just kind of happened. And I was like, sweet. I hope this is like a new level that will emerge.
Well, things will shift when we bring them into consciousness. Things can't happen if we're not doing it consciously. And doing an Ozscope, like they go in to look at yourself, to see these disparate parts. Sometimes that's enough to say, let them to actually do what they're wanting to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on our return trip back, there was the color was white, and that seemed, again, unity seemed to be like white unity, right? Rather than have everything spectrumed out and divided, it was kind of going with the same theme of source and light and togetherness. And the follow-up colors were blue and then red. So I don't know if those you'll elaborate on the meaning of those, but
the wisdom of colors just comes. I don't interpret the colors particularly. Sometimes you can see patterns, but for the most part, they come spontaneous from the unconscious depths and with their own wisdom. How do you feel?
I guess the take-home was that there was some sort of transformation, from the colors they changed, and the union with those two characters and stuff. So, and the revelations of what they actually are versus what I assumed. So that was pretty neat and surprising. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for sharing that and for doing that. And it does seem a reflection of the way you are, at least the little bit that I know of you. You know, like you're close to like securing higher level things within yourself, and it, you know, like just the confidence to do that, and just like the little push to like, hey, you know, I've got more than I realized, and I can do more. But you're not quite in that groove yet. You know, like it's not like you're gonna have to have a major psychic makeover to get there. So very cool. Yeah, you look different too, energetically.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, you notice that he's got a different energy about him. Yeah.